Who put Reggie Wright Jr. in charge of planning 2Pac's funeral services? It definitely wasn't Afeni Shakur, because she had her own private services a few days after 2Pac's death. Reggie Wright Jr. is lying again. Also, who was responsible for paying for the memorial service in Atlanta in November of 1996? It wasn't who you think it was. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Yeah. Blackjack. Life is like a game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Yeah. Blackjack. To play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time today. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and tell a friend. This is very good information that we're giving out over here. And also, if you're new to the channel and you would like to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and hit that bell notification right below this video. I'm about to get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but I just have to do this because, like I said, once again, when I see somebody trying to insult my intelligence, right, it is so disrespectful, like I said, and I'm sure you as an individual, and knowing and believing that yourself is an intelligent individual, would feel the same way, right? So Reggie Wright did a whole video about me the other day in response to the truth and factual information in which I put out about him in regards to the income that he said that he was bringing in from his company versus what I had showed from the Brad and Dunn Street information, in which that information is provided by the person owning the business in regards to trying to develop a corporate credit, and whether you're a credible corporation, correct? Right. And basically, usually the person who owns the corporation usually provides that to Brad and Dunn Street. So the information was correct and factual, should I say. So everything that I, posted up there, like I said, once again, it can't be disputed. This is online information that you can find online. It's public information, right? But that's not what I want to deal with today. Because Reggie Wright Jr. did a video today that's just so disrespectful to 2Pac Shakur and his legacy. Reggie Wright Jr. has claimed that he was helping plan 2Pac's funeral, y'all. I really don't even know how to get into this, but I'm going to do it in a way that is so thorough and respectful that you'll understand what I'm talking about. Reggie Wright Jr. was responsible for the protection of 2Pac Shakur, according to Suge Knight. Suge Knight, I played the vocal, should I say the audio of Suge Knight basically saying that he had requested 5 more security guards for 2Pac Shakur in Vegas, and Reggie sent nobody. He also said that Reggie Wright Jr. actually pulled the security off of 2Pac Shakur. Once again, I'm going to tell you, Reggie Wright Jr. is complicit and negligent in the death of 2Pac Shakur. That is a fact. Not from my mouth, but from Suge Knight's mouth himself. Period. Let's put that out there as being what that is. But this funeral thing that he just claimed is beyond the pale, guys. It is beyond the pale. I'm gonna give you something, because basically what he said in this video right here is that he was I guess looking for a place to have 2Pac's funeral, in regards to 2Pac having a funeral. And that's an outright blatant lie. And it's so disrespectful that it's not even shame. I'm going to read you something right here. And this is a fact. to everything that they've told you. Yeah, we was planning on doing this. No, they weren't. There was no official plan to have any funeral. Remember, factually stated, in and around the weekend of, I believe, the 17th of September, 2Pac was cremated. They had a special, a private service, and I'm going to read to you what that was, and here it is right here. Check this out. This was Tuesday, September 17th. So it would be the weekend before, or in and around, I would say Tuesday, Monday, Sunday, in around the 14th. So basically, 2Pac was cremated immediately. There was no plan on having no funeral or nothing like that. Reggie Wright wasn't held with the task of finding a place to have 2Pac's funeral. He was already cremated. Listen, the family of 2Pac Shakur had his remains cremated over the weekend and held their own private services for the slain rapper, who died 6 days after he was shot near the Las Vegas Strip. The family had private services Saturday. It was the wishes of the family that nothing be done. It's done and over with. There will be nothing more. The family doesn't want us to say anything else, said a Davis Funeral Home spokeswoman. Then it goes on to say Shakur, one of rap's most successful and notorious singers, was shot September 7th in Las Vegas. Ladies and gentlemen, these are facts. You now have Reggie Wright Jr. basically saying that he was somehow, some way, going to plan a funeral in L.A. for 2Pac Shakur, when it wasn't even a thought of the family. No communication with the Afeni Shakur and Reggie Wright Jr. in respects to doing that. Right? You gotta understand what I'm saying. Oh, we was gonna have the theater in LA and the whole eight. No. You would need the family's permission in order to do something like that, for them to be participants in that situation. That would be the respectful way to handle something like that. Once again, Reggie Wright has tried to put himself as the head of Death Row. I've proven to you that that was a lie, right? Reggie Wright has told you that he at one time made $1 million a year working over at Death Row. I proved to you that that was a lie. And now Reggie Wright is now placing himself as the person who was in charge of trying to handle a funeral, right? And deal with some kind of funeral services for 2Pac Shakur. That is downright disrespectful to the legacy of 2Pac Shakur, and to someone who once again continues to lie and try to place themselves in the middle of 2Pac's legacy. Let me give you some other information. Once again, you see, because he was like, oh yeah, Death Row, and we was going X, Y, and Z. No. Listen to this, and listen to this very carefully, because it's very important that you do. Check this out. And just to prove to you that what he was saying is ultimately a lie, and how much, they love Pac, and it was this, that, and the other. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And because Afeni Shakur handled her business and did what she needed to do, we know for a fact that 2Pac Shakur was in fact cremated in and around the weekend of that weekend of after he died, right? Soon after. The funeral home spokesperson spoke on that, correct? There would be no funeral. There was no communication between them happening in regards to Reggie setting up anything for the family that they would be involved with, Afeni would be involved with in relation to her son. Listen to this. Check. This is going to put a whole lot of speculation and conversation to rest. Listen to this. Since 2Pac's death, Interscope has repeatedly sought to mollify Afeni. In October, right, when she found Knight and David Kenner unresponsive, and she was threatening to block the release of 2Pac's last album, which would have been Machiavelli, right, unless she got an accounting of the money due to him, 2Pac, her son. It was Jimmy Iovine who met with Afeni and her lawyer, Richard Fishbein, and agreed that Interscope would pay her an immediate $3 million with more to come. And it was Interscope, not Death Row, that underwrote a memorial service for 2Pac in Atlanta in November. Ask Reggie Wright, did he attend that? Didn't Reggie Wright just tell you that there was no public memorial service for 2Pac? This is the same guy who claimed that he was planning a funeral. You know why he didn't know that there was a public memorial service for 2Pac? Because he wasn't planning a funeral. He wasn't invited to the memorial down in Atlanta. And he wasn't in the loop. Therefore, he was lying. Once again, he said that there was no public memorial. Now, if you close to the situation, you would know that. If you close to Jimmy Iovine and Interscope like he claimed, you would know that. Interscope funded it. So that means Reggie Wright wasn't invited. He didn't even know, according to what he just said. Let me proceed. Once again, they out here faking, y'all. They out here faking for real, and it's a damn shame. You understand what I'm saying? So when you sit back and you understand what it was, once again, this is in October. Basically, Interscope repeatedly sought to mollify Afeni. In October, when she found that Suge Knight and David Kenner were unresponsive, and she was threatening to block the release of Machiavelli. I told you guys this. These are facts. Not unless she got an accounting of the money that was due. Who made it happen? It was Jimmy Iovine. Why? Because 2Pac was signed to Interscope. Why nobody showed up? Come on, y'all. You gotta think. I'm not talking about somebody that anybody can parade in front of you and get them to say something to you and what they believe. I'm talking about who had the power. Right? Jimmy Iovine met with Afeni and her lawyer, right? Why? How could he do that? What gave him the power to do that? And agreed that Interscope would pay her an immediate $3 million, not a settlement. Not a settlement, with more to come. And it was Interscope, not Death Row, that underwrote a memorial service for 2Pac in Atlanta in November. Now, if you listen to what Reggie said, well, Suge decided not to have one. We decided not to have one because we didn't, we wanted to leave it open whether 2Pac was dead or whether 2Pac was alive. Well, 2Pac's mother didn't feel that way because Interscope funded a memorial service for 2Pac in Atlanta in November. 2 months later. Y'all listening to me? So once again, Reggie Wright Jr. is trying to place himself over something that he had no authority, he had no permission, he had no information in regards to that. Once again, then he goes on to say, yeah, she held her own situation. When you're talking about, I did a video, actually, you can go down to Malibu. I did a video, like I said, because I usually go down there during 2Pac's birthday, in Malibu, at the beach. You check this video out, right? And, you know, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. You got to go there. And so this is what he's talking about in his video in regards to the memorial service that they had, like the Outlaws and all of that. He ain't talking about the memorial service that Interscope paid for. See, he ain't going to tell you that. He's going to try to make himself look like a hero in the situation. And it's simply not factual. Another thing, right? When you talk about the accounting, right, and the accounting of what that was, I'm going to let, for all intents and purposes, Afeni Shakur tell you who the auditing firm, or should I say the accounting firm that she got and who they audited. Listen to this.
She had lawyers, Donald David and Rick Fishbein. She had an accountant, Jeffrey Joyner, who began sifting and sorting through 2Pac's layers of financial madness. And she had Deloitte Touche, the firm that audited Interscope records and located 2Pac's outstanding compensation.
Who did they audit, y'all? They audited Interscope. Why did they audit Interscope? Because once she got the information, the bail agreement, and all of the things that she needed to get, right? Afeni Shakur understood what it was, how it was, and who had the power, and who 2Pac was actually still signed to. They audited Interscope and found what 2Pac was owed. But more importantly, you now have Reggie Wright Jr. coming out basically saying that he was somehow in charge of having some kind of funeral for 2Pac Shakur, y'all. And 2Pac was cremated in Las Vegas. Do you understand how egregious this is? Once again, the lies continue, but what I'm going to do every time that I hear something that is not factual, I'm going to bring you the documentation and the information to let you decide for yourself. Once again, Reggie Wright mentioned my name. I never said anything about him, right? But I'm kind of glad that he did mention my name. And let me give you this. Reggie Wright is not a celebrity. Reggie Wright was never an executive in the music industry. I know a lot of people in this business. You see them plaques back on my wall, they question what I've done. Well, I'm Platinum Plus, award winning, on my own terms. Absolutely. Absolutely. I even have my own day that the mayor of my city gave me. These are facts, y'all. You understand what I'm saying? So once again, when you talk about a guy like Reggie Wright Jr., this guy's a fraud. This guy is a fraud. You understand what I'm saying? When dealing with the fact of the matter, like I said, he lied on Yasmin Fula. I caught him in the lie. Right? And ever since then, they've been erasing videos so that you don't catch on to the lies. So that you don't do the information that I'm doing, but it's a lot of people that have already done that, and they contact me daily and say, DELRAY, thank you, I appreciate that. These are facts, y'all. Reggie Wright Jr. had nothing to do with the planning of 2Pac Shakur's funeral, right? From any perspective in dealing with the family, and being in contact with the family and having permission from them. There would be no funeral. But in fact, it was Interscope, y'all, and not Death Row, that underwrote a memorial service for 2Pac in Atlanta 2 months after his death. Your boy DELRAY, straight gang.